Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nick James. Today is June 11th of 2025, and we're going to be covering a very important topic today. Decoding TRAIGA. Perhaps some of you have heard of it. It is Texas's new Texas Responsible AI Governance Act. This bill is far-fetching. I say that in the kindest way, and we'll go over what it means to deploy and support responsible AI, and we'll go over what this really means for you today. If you have any questions, I encourage you to put it in the comments. I'll try to get to them towards the end. But as I said, thank you for joining me today. So a little bit about me. My name is Nick James. As I said, I'm the founder and principal AI consultant, chief AI officer of WhitegloveAI. I'm also the co-author of the handbook for chief AI officers. I co-authored that with Ken Huang and I forget the other co-author's name, but please check us out on Amazon if you're interested in that book. I've spent 16 years in cybersecurity, ranging from large companies, starting with the United States Marine Corps, learning how to do cybersecurity in the Department of Defense, all the way through to large companies like HSBC, Dell, Bank of America, Deloitte, and most recently AWS, and then a little bit of Blue Cross Blue Shield. I was also the original author of the AI Adoption and Management Framework, which is a framework that WhitegloveAI has put together and released out to the public and to the community as our open source contribution. It's absolutely free to use. It is licensed on a Creative Commons license. It's a share alike and attribution license. All that means is that if you decide to take it and then perhaps create your own version of it or a remixed version of it, you just have to reattribute it back to WhitegloveAI. But please use it. It's a free resource. It's out there. You can find it at aiamf.ai. We also have quite a few co-authors like Jason Hess and Dr. Donnie Wendt, who's on our team, who put in a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears into that document. It's highly comprehensive. Obviously, does not encompass TRAIGA since it was released prior to the release of the bill, but in version 2, we'll make sure to cover TRAIGA. As a company, we've led a number of high-impact projects from a lot in public sector, surprisingly, with local municipalities, independent school districts like Anna. I see our friend Ted Mackey's on the live stream right now, all the way to oil and gas, to large financial services. So we have a very varied experience amongst a number of highly to medium regulated industries in deploying safe, secure, and responsible AI. And we also like to, based on our composition of the AI Adoption Management Framework, we like to advise on safe, secure, and responsible AI adoption based on international standards and frameworks like ISO 42001, which is the AI management system from ISO, the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, and obviously today we're going to be talking about TRAIGA. Moving right along. Okay. Some of the facts about what we're going to talk about today. So what is WhitegloveAI? What's our mission? We're a managed AI service provider and an AI consulting firm. Our mission is to empower organizations to adopt secure, responsible, and scalable AI solutions. It's simple as that. We want to be your trusted AI adoption partner. We want to help you do it right. And we want to ultimately de-risk your investment in a very new, emerging, and potentially risky technology, if not put in the right hands. Today's focus is going to be on the Texas Responsible AI Governance Act, HB 149. The current status of it is past the House and Senate. It is on Governor Abbott's desk awaiting signature. If he does sign it or he doesn't sign it, it will become law by September 1. The effective date is the enforcement date, when you can get essentially the date after in which you can get in trouble if you don't comply with it. that is January 1 of 2026. So September 1 is the quote unquote effective date, rather, and then January 1, 2026 is the enforcement date. So you really got the rest of this year to come into compliance, and we'll go over what that means. Our goal today is to really clarify what TRAIGA requires. Most importantly, does it affect you, who it affects, and how to turn compliance really into a competitive advantage, because we at WhitegloveAI really do believe that responsible and secure AI adoption, use, and deployment is the most commercially responsible way of leveraging artificial intelligence. And then we'll cover applicability, where we'll define what a developer is, a deployer, a vendor, and frankly, it doesn't matter what your size is. You can be a small, tiny small business like WhitegloveAI, and you are in scope. Okay, moving right along. So, what's going on? Why Texas? Why is Texas leading? I think, in this bill, from a regulatory standpoint, huge shout out to the Texas Emerging Technology and Artificial Intelligence Committee and Representative Caprileone for his leadership in helping draft and champion this bill. So here are some few facts. We're leading the way in innovation. As you know, a lot of the innovation that have come from other epicenters like Silicon Valley or New York have really migrated into the beautiful city of Austin. And now up here where WhitegloveAI is based in Frisco, Texas, and McKinney, Texas, we're seeing a lot of that same dynamics happening up here. So it was in the best interest of our political leadership to put something forward before it's too late. So just as we saw with privacy, where Europe decided to put in the GDPR for privacy as the privacy rule, Europe also put in the EU AI Act, right? And so Europe is very regulation heavy, I should say, not in a bad way. However, the United States, just like in privacy, has decided not to act at a federal level. And I'm not sure if they will act at a federal level based on the actions of the current administration. Not good nor bad, okay? That's why we're purple. It doesn't look like we're going to have a overreaching federal regulation around responsible AI, but rather states are really going to take the responsibility. Just like, once again, going back to privacy, New York developed the NYDFS, California developed the CCPA, and so on and so forth. Now in AI, Colorado's released their own AI law, and now Texas. I know there are a few other states that I haven't mentioned. Public trust. So I think there is a growing fear of, will AI take my job? That's number one. Number two, how is AI being used to improve the surveillance of me, whether it's by government or by big tech? I think there is this sort of internal worry that maybe no one's voicing, because the hype cycle is just so real when you're in it. Even when you're outside of it, perhaps you're ignorant to it, not in a bad way. Once again, perhaps it hasn't touched you yet. But I think there's this ever-growing fear because AI is just always on, doesn't sleep. It can now think above a PhD level human or a group of humans. And so the public trust really stems from surveillance. And then from that surveillance, really, how are the models preventing discrimination, bias against large groups of people that look a specific way or hold certain attributes, and then the downstream abuse of that bias and discrimination. So really, TRAIGA is meant to set a set of guardrails, innovation with guardrails, I like to say, to minimize the impact of such And so, like I said earlier, innovation with guardrails. they've actually made some really cool provisions, and I didn't see this coming, but the AI Council here in Texas actually put a sandbox program together where you can come in and experiment, right? Experiment in a sandbox environment, which means that there's no public exposure. You're minimizing the risk of it making a public impact. And so that's something we'll cover on a little bit later. We're going to do a few webinars on this, but that's something I'm really excited about. And Representative Caprileone says Texas aims to lead the country in AI safety, ethics, and practical innovation. I love that. Okay, so who's in scope? Should you be worried? Yes. If you promote, advertise, or operate in Texas, effectively any entity with business operations here in the state. So if you're listening and your company that you work for, the company that you own or run or operate is here in Texas, then you're in scope. Okay. If you offer, now this is where it kind of people are like, what, for real? If you offer products or services used by Texans, even if it's remotely, you could be at a company that's based in Oregon, but you have Texas users. You've now come under scope and scrutiny of this bill to be law. And then develop or deploy AI systems used in Texas. So this kind of removes the gray area between that first bullet point and that second bullet point. So this includes platforms like embedded AI tools and third-party integrations. So if you're not a traditional AI software provider, you develop software, but all of a sudden now you want to stay competitive in your field and you've now integrated AI, let's say, I don't know, you added a neat little content generation tool with the little the sparkly button, and they click it, your user clicks it, and all of a sudden, I was actually at breakfast yesterday with a really terrific founder of a company who provides software to schools, and they put AI into their system. Now, traditionally, they would be like, well, I don't think this applies to us, but it actually does, because they added an AI feature into their platform. So that covers off that third bullet point. Okay. Key definitions, there are a bunch of them, not too many, but these are the big ones I really want to hit on. Artificial intelligence system, I'm going to read off the slide because this is nearly verbatim. I took liberties to, I guess, abbreviate a few things, but machine learning and related technologies using data to train statistical models for human-like tasks. That is the abbreviated version of the artificial intelligence systems, and they provide some examples like computer vision, natural language processing, content generation, which is like all Gen AI. Deployer. What is a deployer? A person who deploys an artificial intelligence system for use in the state. A developer. A person who develops an artificial intelligence system that is offered, sold, leased, given, or otherwise provided in this state. And finally, consumer is a Texas resident acting in an individual or household context, not a commercial or employment. Okay. Core protections. Now that we've gotten past sort of the legalese, let's get into what does this do for Texas residents. Okay. And then conversely, if you are a business here in Texas, what does it do for your customers? Whether your customers live here or not, you're in scope because you are based out of here in Texas. Number one, governmental social banning. So state entities cannot use AI to evaluate or classify individuals for social scoring. There is a very popular country that's very big that uses artificial intelligence to provide social scoring for their people. They score based on like perhaps your driving habits, your criminal record. So there are a number of different factors this other country uses. This is illegal here now in Texas. So These social scoring, they're afraid that it leads to unjustified detrimental treatment or infringes on constitutional rights. So it's a reinforcement of your personal agency and reduces your worry of being applied a number on top of your identity to allow you or disallow you to do certain things in society. That's what social scoring is typically used for. There is a form of social scoring that we're kind of already used to. It's called your credit score, right? I don't know what the impacts of the Equifax's, the credit unions. Obviously, this is particularly pointed directly at state agencies, so they wouldn't be in scope. But I'm just providing an alternative sort of analogy of what it would be to have a score. And the only one that we're familiar with is the credit score. Next, AI disclosure requirements. So state agencies must notify Texans. And this, obviously, this is something that we're deeply connected with and advise our public sector clients is that if let's say, the city of Frisco is using our AI voice phone system, which they are, we advise, and it is implemented this way, that the phone system introduces itself as an AI assistant. Okay, so per the law, state agencies must notify Texans when interacting with AI in plain visible language. So visible, I think, can be manipulated, because if it's auditory, like it's a phone call, as long as it's in plain language, it says, I am an AI assistant here to help you with XYZ, right? That would be in compliance. However, there is no universal disclosure to mandate for private sector companies. So if your company is using AI to service customers and you are here in Texas and you are under scope of this law, you don't need to disclose that to your customers. This only applies to state agencies. Okay. Next is biometric data use. Okay. This one's important. Limits on uniquely identifying individuals using biometric data or publicly sourced images without consent. Okay. Hang on one second. Yeah. Especially on infringing on rights. Collecting biometrics for authentication is allowed with no consent, but with retention limits. So what does all that legalese mean? It purely means that there are very strong limits on using biometric data to identify a person. Unless it's, let's say it's for your bank who has collected your voice print to authenticate you when you call in. Or perhaps it's a bank that's using something like Face ID, right, to perform a background check or something like that, right? So as long as the biometrics is being collected for the purposes of authentication or authenticating you to your identity, there are some retention limits, but they don't need to gain your consent. However, on the other hand, if it's being used for other purposes, you definitely need that person's consent. Next, political viewpoint, unlawful discrimination prevention. So AI cannot be developed or deployed with intent to limit expression, opinions based on political stance, censor political speech, or unlawfully discriminate against protected classes. Okay. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. We cannot use AI to silence a voter group, for example, right? Next is prohibition on certain illegal content. I think we're all worried about deepfakes, right? We've heard so many examples of, I know there was a company, I believe in Singapore, where the CFO was deepfaked. There was a call made to a low-level treasurer in the company, and he asked that treasurer to deposit a very large sum of money. And obviously, there was urgency. There was a story concocted about him being in trouble or in harm's way, and so she went ahead and did it, and they lost, I believe, it was like $20 million. But we see it every day, especially now with Google's VO model out. I mean, it's getting really difficult even for me who sees it every day. The the ability to distinguish between AI generated videos and real videos. So it is so clearly, as it states in the law, it's unlawful to develop or deploy AI systems with intent to maliciously generate unlawful or harmful content. This includes like sexually explicit things that perhaps, we've heard of stories where high schoolers have perhaps taken a girl or a boy's face and put it on a pornographic content, either a video or an image. That is completely illegal. I mean, that should have been illegal before, perhaps it was. And obviously, deepfakes or impersonations. And then finally, malicious use ban. It will be illegal to build or deploy AI systems designed to encourage self-harm, violence, or criminal behavior. Moving right along. This is the one that hits hard, folks. No small business exemption. Previous versions of the bill, when it was in draft, did have exemptions for small business, but no excuses now. It doesn't matter what your size is. If you fall under the applicability criteria of, remember, number one, if you are based here in Texas and you're a company and you're using artificial intelligence, you're in scope. Number two, if you are a company based out of Maine, right, and your customers live here in Texas, you're in scope. And it doesn't matter what your size is, right? Even if you're a small business, like I said, there used to be exemptions for small businesses that fell under the definition of a small business, I believe, by the Small Business Administration, but that was removed. Okay, next, moving right along. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. If you can't, just throw a comment in there. I'll see it and I'll adjust. Okay. So why do we think TRAIGA might be good for businesses? It's going to, number one, it's going to promote clarity and trust. I think one of the biggest barriers, especially selling B2B or business to business, and even now B2C, is that, and I'm going to simplify this, when you're considering the purchase of something, either as a business owner, operator, or a decision maker at a business, or a consumer, a parent, a father, a husband, a wife, whatever, right? Whether it's in personal life or professional life, the first thing, what do you look for? Reviews, right? That's why companies like G2 and Trustpilot, that's the whole reason they exist, right? It's the public validating your purchase, right? Their opinions validate your purchase, because you don't want to be the first person to purchase it and then find out that it's messed up and have lost a bunch of money and time. So what TRAIGA does is that, and I don't know if there's going to be certifications. It might be more like HIPAA, where you're HIPAA compliant, but you can't actually certify against it. The same goes for NIST. You can be NIST compliant, but you can't certify against NIST. But perhaps there will be a sort of a secondary market of independent auditors that come in, right? WhitegloveAI helps with preparation. We don't help with certification, but that come in and provide an independent audit that you have these certain artifacts that prove your compliance towards TRAIGA, and that can bolster and improve your ability to build trust in a much quicker manner with your customers. And so, number one, the customer needs to understand what TRAIGA is, right? They need to know what kind of core protections, like we spoke about earlier, are included, and how that relates to what they're buying, right? Responsible innovation is next. I mean, we've been going really fast, folks. I mean, what used to feel like months now feels like days, maybe even hours. There isn't a day today where there aren't monumental like worldwide, Apple's worldwide developer conference type announcements happening every day. That conference used to happen like every year, and it still does. But I'm saying the pace of innovation introduces WWDC worthy announcements nearly on a daily basis, maybe conservatively weekly. Okay. So it's really important that while we are running as fast as we are, that we are taking care to be diligent about due care for our customers who are the end clients who are collecting data from, and that we are through commercially reasonable means protecting their data, handling their data, and now processing their data, avoiding bias, avoiding discrimination, right? That's really what responsible innovation means. And when we have a healthy ecosystem and balance between responsibility and innovation, that's when the ecosystem thrives. Okay. I'll make a funny analogy. It's like, the plants give the herbivores food to eat and grow, but then the threat out there is the lion that eats the antelope, right? And so there's that balance, right? Where you could look at the plant as providing sustenance or innovation, and the lion is kind of, provides responsible control of population growth, right? So there needs to be a balance between responsibility and innovation. Next, enhanced consumer protection. Obviously, this is for your clients if you're a business owner, operator, or if you're a consumer. We're all business owners or operators or decision makers in some way, shape, or form professionally, but we're also huge consumers. So this should benefit us on both ends. And finally, I think responsible innovation lends itself to market leadership. I think a lot of innovators will think doing things responsibly, kind of measure twice, cut once attitude is going to slow them down, but we think otherwise. Okay, so some potential impacts of TRAIGA. Number one, there's some effort that comes along with complying or furnishing artifacts and evidence to show that you comply. Now, those artifacts aren't going to be demanded of you from the way we understand it, not going to be demanded of you immediately, but perhaps you come under scrutiny of a potential violation. That stuff is going to need to be date stamped, like you didn't do this yesterday because you found out you got in trouble yesterday. You need to have done it when in the past to show that you set, let's say, a policy, and that policy was implemented, it was followed, it was measured, it was enforced, right? You can't just hurry up and make documentation last minute just because you got in trouble. Innovation stifling. Some argue regulations can, hinders innovation, but as I said earlier, I think it leads to a healthy ecosystem of producers and consumers. And then some nuances and interpretation of law. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, but there are lawyers out there who talk about TRAIGA already. So, based on our research, practical application by the Attorney General will evolve. And so it's really important that businesses like ours, especially small businesses with just a growing ecosystem of startups, especially up here in North Texas, need to have a voice. So I think that the EDCs, the chambers, they all do a terrific job of giving us a conduit, like a microphone, into Austin to help further shape this. Right. This is the first version. So some support for innovators. Obviously, like I said, we're going to have a voice down in Austin. The Texas AI Council will continue to provide guidance and potentially more webinars like this. Although we're a private company, we have a vested interest in this. And then the regulatory sandbox program, which I think is really neat and was very forward thinking, frankly. Like normally it's like, hey, do as I say, right? and figure it out, but they're actually giving us mechanisms to safely test before we deploy and get in trouble. So closing out, rounding off, I wanted this to be short, crisp, because there's more to come. How can WhitegloveAI help you get TRAIGA ready? We have some really cool news. We've put together what's called a TRAIGA triage center. I know, I love the T and the T. So the TRAIGA triage center has a number of different resources, including that readiness assessment. It's a light version, but you can just go on there. I have a QR code on the next slide. You can just scan it with your phone. So the TRAIGA readiness assessment help you evaluate your current AI practices against specific requirements of the law, policy and procedure development. Obviously, like implementation, it starts with policy. Policy is the voice of leadership, right? And then procedures and standards and processes are the implementation of that policy, the legs, arms, the feet of your policy. We can help with that. Ethical AI framework design, regulatory guidance and training. I want to be very clear with you. We will help you prepare. We cannot certify you. We cannot ominous dominus you. We can. This is all very new and developing. So we are out there looking for law firms that specialize in the saying, yeah, you're good part of it. So we're going to be partnering with a law firm that has the authority to say things like that. But we do, from our knowledge and experience and multitude of years in cybersecurity, this kind of a walk in the park for us. It's just new technologies, new rules. And then strategic advisory. So closing it off, as I said, the triage center, the TRAIGA triage center, say that like 10 times fast, record yourself and send it to me. I'll send you a $15 Starbucks gift card. So we have the readiness assessment that's on there. It's at the bottom of the page. We have a really cool TRAIGA AI agent. You can ask it anything. It's going to ask you for some information, but that's the price for free information, right? You have like specific questions, go ask our agent. It's free, it's open. You can use it right now. Just if you want to get to the TRAIGA triage center, just scan this QR code with your mobile phone, or if you don't have a phone with you that can scan a QR code, take a screenshot of it. Or you can just go to the WhitegloveAI website. It's literally right under the hero section, the top section. There's a banner there that says visit our TRAIGA triage center. You can click on that. And then we've also developed a reader-friendly version of the full bill, because it's kind of hard to get through. Not that it's, yes, of course, all laws are dry, but it's just, there's a lot of syntax, and there's a lot of like punctuations, like underlining, and it's just really hard to read, especially for people like me. I have ADHD and I have dyslexia, so it's really hard. So if we've created a simplified, just no formatting version that you can even drop in like a text to speech. Like 11 Labs has a free app that you can download from the App Store. You drop this PDF in there and it'll read it to you. I'm a big Audible fan. So, and then finally, we created a FAQ section that speaks around TRAIGA. I think there are a lot of questions that are not addressed specifically by the law. And I think it's very informative. So please go out there, check it out, take the assessment, use the AI agent, and then please follow us at WhitegloveAI's LinkedIn page. We will be hosting another webinar on going from policy to practice. Like, how do you do this? How do you actually implement it? Like, how do you become in compliance to it? You only got till 1 January of 2026. That's just a few months away. There's even a neat counter. I think we're at 203 days as of today. There's a neat counter on our website. Anyway, I see a lot of great shout outs and thank yous. Thank you, Amina, and thank you, Ted. I don't see any questions here. So I'll just hang around for just another like 5 minutes. If there are people on the live stream that want to ask questions, please feel to drop it in, and then I should be able to see it. Let me actually log into the LinkedIn stream. Any questions, drop them in. I'm actually going to come into the live stream to see. There we go. Taco. All right, folks. Looks like no more questions. All right, very good. Well, if nothing else, please do reach out to us if you have any questions about this. Obviously, everything's just developing slowly, but we want to have answers for you. We want to be your trusted AI adoption partner. That's our go-to-market slogan. It's the first thing you see when you go on our website. We want to be your trusted AI adoption partner. We want to help you do it securely and responsibly. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Make sure you follow the White Glove AI LinkedIn page. I'll post about our next webinar on going from policy to practice. Um, if there's nothing else, I bid you all a wonderful Wednesday. It's hump day. You're almost through the week. You're going to get through it. Thanks, everybody.